Welcome to this foundational lecture on assessing the costs of starting a business. Before committing a single dollar, I want to focus on what it truly takes to launch a venture, survive the early stages, and create a path for growth. Developing a business plan means looking beyond the excitement of an idea and examining the financial realities behind it. Understanding those costs before spending is essential to making informed decisions and building a sustainable new venture. Cost assessment is mission critical because a strong business idea can still fail when the financial plan is inaccurate. Underestimating startup costs is identified here as the number one cause of early-stage business failure. There are three common problems to watch for: underfunding, which means running out of cash before revenue arrives; overconfidence, such as expecting break-even too quickly; and hidden costs, including permits, insurance, and contingency needs. A realistic assessment helps reveal these risks early and gives the business a stronger foundation for managing cash flow. Every founder needs to distinguish between two fundamentally different categories of costs. One-time startup costs are paid before opening day to get the business off the ground. These may include equipment, legal registration, initial inventory, the website build, and leasehold improvements. Ongoing operating costs are recurring expenses that keep the business running month after month. They include rent, payroll, utilities, software subscriptions, marketing, and loan repayments. Keeping these categories separate makes budgeting clearer and helps you understand how much cash the business needs initially and over time. Startup costs extend across 6 major categories, so I need to look beyond the most visible expenses, such as equipment and inventory. The key idea is to budget for the entire cost landscape, not just what I need to open the doors. One category that founders often overlook is working capital, the cash needed to keep operations running while the business gets established. I should plan to reserve 3 to 6 months of operating expenses, creating a buffer for ongoing costs and unexpected pressure on cash flow. Understanding cost behavior helps me predict how expenses will change as the business grows. Fixed costs stay the same regardless of sales volume, including rent, insurance, salaried staff, and software licenses. They still have to be paid even when revenue is zero. Variable costs move directly with activity, such as raw materials, hourly labor, shipping, and sales commissions. As production or sales increase, these costs rise as well. Semi-variable costs combine both patterns. They include a fixed base plus a usage-based amount, like a phone plan or utility bill. Building a reliable startup cost estimate begins with structure. First, list every major expense category, so important costs don't disappear from view. Next, research current market prices rather than relying on assumptions or rough guesses. Then separate one-time purchases, such as initial setup costs, from recurring expenses that will continue month after month. Finally, include a 15 to 20% contingency buffer for the unexpected. This disciplined process makes your estimate more realistic and helps prevent dangerous blind spots before you commit your resources. The central question is not simply how much it costs to open, but how much capital you need to keep operating until revenue catches up. Total capital needed equals startup costs plus a working capital reserve. To estimate that reserve, calculate your monthly burn rate, multiply it by the number of months until break even, and then add one-time costs. A 3 to 6 month buffer is generally recommended. The slide also highlights that 29% of failed startups cite running out of cash, while a typical home-based startup may require around $30,000 initially. Reducing startup costs begins with staying deliberately lean. Launch with the minimum viable product or service, and avoid committing to large premises or full-time staff before revenue supports them. Preserve cash wherever possible. Lease expensive equipment instead of buying it, and consider operating leases to reduce upfront spending. Cloud and SaaS tools also replace costly proprietary systems with flexible monthly subscriptions that can scale as needed. Finally, outsource non-core work, such as bookkeeping, HR, and IT, until hiring full-time specialists becomes financially justified. Choosing a funding source is not just about finding money. It's about matching the financing approach to how much capital I need, how quickly I need it, and how much control I'm willing to share. Bootstrapping preserves ownership, but it can limit how quickly the business grows. Debt financing keeps control in my hands, although repayment creates pressure. Equity financing may provide valuable expertise, but it reduces my ownership stake. Grants don't require repayment, yet they're highly competitive, so they can't always be counted on. Break-even analysis shows the point at which your business covers all its costs and begins moving toward profit. The basic calculation is fixed cost divided by the selling price per unit minus the variable cost per unit. In this example, $10,000 in monthly fixed costs, a $50 price, and $20 in variable costs mean you need to sell about 334 units each month to break even. This is a critical reality check for your business plan. It tests pricing, validates sales projections, sets a concrete revenue milestone, and clarifies how much capital you truly need. To bring everything together, categorize every cost and research real numbers rather than guessing. Build in a 15 to 20% buffer with 3 to 6 months of working capital. Match your funding to your needs, timeline, and ambitions, then run break-even analysis to confirm the business is viable and investable.